So speaking of, collateral damage, I've got a Air Force friend of mine that flew in Afghanistan, flew in Iraq, and occasionally there will be mistakes. There will be, even if the mistake doesn't happen, there'll just be unfortunate circumstances. How are you trained as Air Force pilots to deal with those inevitable consequences, and what is the system for that? I mean, I can imagine, ancient warriors coming back from a battle face to face with people, knowing the carnage that happened. And then with Air Force pilots, you may not know until sometime later that the enemy wasn't harmed, it was someone else. Like what goes on, and how are we equipped to deal with that? And is there a way that smart capital can support making that transition, or at least dealing with that trauma of warfare from tens of thousands of feet above?
Yeah, there's always going to be mistakes. There's going to always be the fog of war is always going to creep in and make it difficult to make a decision at the time. So the way you mitigate that is what we already do in the military. It's called the debrief. Come in and you, on a daily basis, every single time you fly, you spend almost more time in the debrief discussing what went right, what went wrong, and being very critical about that behind closed doors without retribution. There's no rank. We always say when we get into a debrief with a squadron, is rank comes off. If the lieutenant's got something to say to the colonel should respect that and listen. Obviously, there's still respect within the room, but you have to understand when you're in a debrief that you're really picking this apart for a particular reason, and that's the reason. So that when you go out there and do it for real, you don't make those mistakes. You've already learned that lesson maybe several times over because it's a really hard lesson to learn. But it's always going to be the case where something doesn't go right. The intel was wrong, this was wrong. So the smart money goes towards building that situational awareness so that people understand when it can or cannot go wrong. And then you base your decisions off of the knowledge that you have at that particular time. So systems that, like I said, the Jahemics came in and gave the pilot, it made the pilots more of a systems operator than a pilot. The flying the airplane is easy. It's managing all the systems that is very difficult, and making those decisions. That takes experience to be able to do that. And our military is, the Western military, our allies are very good at those types of things. And so the smart money goes towards building situational awareness, building awareness models that can predict, not necessarily predict, but give you the information at the right time so that you can make the right decision. It's bad decisions that lead to consequences that you then have to answer to later. And that has an impact on the overall war. When president or a major command has to play defense in the media because of a poor decision or a poor execution, then that impacts the entire operation, and it's going to impact on how we do that. And so, we do things from a flying perspective, from an operational perspective. You plan, you execute, and then you debrief. And your debrief consists of really three primary subjects. Did everybody understand the plan? Was the plan a good plan? And you talk about that and you criticize that. No, it was a terrible plan. So execution and understanding are irrelevant at that point because the plan was just a bad plan in the first place. So you talk about that. And then you talk about, did everybody understand what we were going to do as a team? And so was the plan a good plan? Did everybody understand what the plan was, and did we go out there? And then third is, did we execute it in accordance with the plan? So if it was a good plan and everybody understood it and everybody executed the plan correctly, you end up with one of these missions that are very rare because it was just really a great mission. 9 times out of 10, that's not the case. There's something wrong with the plan. There's something wrong with people's understanding of the plan, and there is something wrong with the execution. Though that's why you hit on those 3 points every time you debrief. And that's that critical analysis that goes into everything we do, and that's the attention to detail. When you get down to that level of knowledge, and it's perishable, it goes away. It's why we need to practice. So training aids, ability to make decisions, intelligence, all those things are fair game to improving how we minimize or mitigate the risk during times of fog and war.